Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Bay Path Regional Vocational Technical High School for our football preview show. I apologize with the music leading in. Obviously, that didn't work for me this morning, but nevertheless, we have some talk about football. And Coach Giamper, I'm glad you're with me. We've had a few unfortunate mishaps that didn't allow us to do the show the last couple of weeks, but a lot has happened around Bay Path football, and I want to catch up and just have a conversation about what's going on. So, how are you, first and foremost?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. And happy Friday. Another big week ahead of us for in football. But before we even begin to talk about our opponent that's coming up on Saturday, let's talk a little bit about our games against Millbury and Uxbridge, because we didn't have a chance to break them down a little bit. And what a great turning point for your program and your commitment to staying focused and moving forward. So why don't we go back to Millbury first a little bit and just talk a little bit about that game and then just kind of dovetail into Uxbridge.
Yeah, I mean, we had a tough month there in the middle of the season. Just a lot of growing pains. We have a young team, a lot of younger guys still learning how to play football and learning the game overall. And we just kept hammering. Every week's a new week. Every game's a new game. And if you're feeling sorry for yourself, then it's not going to get much better. So our kids came to give them a lot of credit. It's hard. Football is a tough sport because you don't get 2-3 opportunities a week. You get one a week, and then you got to sit on it for however long, till your next game. So it's a series of ups and downs and highs and lows, and it's tough. And it's hard. Practice is hard, and it's repetitive, and it's not easy to come back to school after a Monday loss and recommit yourself and work hard. And again, because the games are once a week, it's easy for kids to kind of lose sight of the forest through the trees, so to speak. And our kids have done a great job. I think our leadership, the older kids, the few that we have really stepped up and kind of reminded our guys of what the standard is around here and making sure that they stay focused. And that's kind of the biggest change that I noticed is and again, those older guys are in new leadership positions, and that's hard for high school kids. Leadership is not an easy thing to do. It's way easy to take a step back and throw your hands up and say, "Hey, I'm doing my job. What do you want from me?" But the thing that I was most proud of is that the older kids really stepped up and kind of not recommitted because they were committed from the beginning, but kind of made sure that those younger kids understand that winning football games is really hard and it's not easy. And it doesn't just happen because you're wearing a particular jersey or helmet, and you got to commit yourself. And, I think we've seen that over the past 2 weeks of us taking kind of some steps forward and doing some good things. And so I really credit the older guys, the leadership, especially Connor Reedy and Elias Vega. JC does a tremendous job as a leader, but even the quiet guys like Isaiah Monette does a great job as a leader. And, so that's where I was kind of proud and kind of knew we were on the right track. But again, every game's hard. We play good teams. There's no gimmies on our schedule, so you just got to kind of keep pounding away, and eventually good things happen.
Well, I tell you, one of the hardest things to do and teach kids, and it's about life, and sports does this very well. You can't always win, but teaching how to be successful, wins and losses take care of themselves. You talk about leadership. I think that's fantastic. As soon as kids begin to learn how to win, I think a lot of things begin to fall into place. So kudos to your staff for staying focused, and kudos to the kids for responding, because during adversity, you got one or two choices. Either you go backwards or you take the steps you need to do to continue to progress and grow. Again, a microcosm of life, so congratulations. So looking at Millbury, that was a really good starting point for you guys to turn the page. A couple of quick takeaways. What was your biggest takeaway there from that game?
Well, just we had to again. I think you hit the nail on the head. These guys had to learn how to win. I mean, they were, and we use this term a lot at practice and in our meetings. But they were, all intents and purposes, the last few years, a lot of these guys were passengers. And then that's not to say they didn't work hard. That's not to say they didn't do what they were supposed to do. But they weren't the guys on the field making the plays and doing what they needed to do. And so we knew, as a staff, especially after those first 3 games, we knew that these guys have to learn how to win, how to deal with adversity, deal with bad things happening. And Millbury, is a really good team, and they're well coached. And we had to remind our guys of how it is that we win. We got to play physical. We're not the most athletic, and this is as long as I've been up here. We're not going to be the most athletic group. We're not going to be the most skilled group, but our kids are tough, and that's how we need to win games. And so, we kind of committed to that idea of we're just going to be physical and be tough. And, during the Millbury games, there were some highs, there were some lows, but and we told them, I mean, Millbury, like I said, is athletic as anybody, and they're well coached and they know what they're looking for. And so if you show a moment of weakness, they'll attack it, and they did. And what I was proud of in that game is our guys continually responded well to bad things happening and trusted that, our philosophy of we need to be tougher than the other team. That played a role as the game went on, and they didn't lose. Again, they didn't throw their hands up and give up and lose sight of it. They did a good job with that. So they played till the end.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, play to the end. Don't take any plays off. Good things happen if you maximize what's in front of you, those opportunities. So you pick up that win in Millbury. You come into the following week. You have to play an extremely strong team in Uxbridge. They had 33 straight wins. Their game before they played you, they had their first loss to Auburn out of all that time. They're coming to you now. They're hungry. They see Bay Path. They come up to our field. And, how do you prepare your kids to take on the juggernaut like that and compete? And then all of a sudden you see that momentum switch, and then you see your team elevating and you're having a chance to win that game. Talk about that experience. I mean, the excitement in the kids to be tied up and to go into overtime is simply amazing.
Yeah. So, the big thing with the Uxbridge game was they're 2 times, they've won the last 2 state championships in Division 7.
Sure.
And Division 7 and 6, I mean, not to do the meme that the kids do, but 6 and 7 really is a toss-up. Those 2 divisions are incredible. I mean, anybody from 6 can beat 7. Anybody from 7 can beat 6. I mean, those are 2 divisions that are very close to each other. They had the loss to Auburn, I think 4 weeks or 3 weeks before us, and then they did what great teams do. They rebounded against 2 teams. They beat Millbury, then they beat I think BVT. And so, they kind of got it back and rolling a little bit. And then, I mean, we told our kids at the beginning of the season, we're going to play good teams. If you want to win championships, if you want to do things, you're going to have to eventually beat good teams. And so, that game, again, just came down to we're not going to be the most athletic team. We're not going to be the most skilled team, but we need to be the tougher team for 4 quarters. I mean, any team can be tough for a play. Any team can be tough for whatever, but we're going to have to be the tougher, more physical team for 4 quarters, and they're going to have to respond to adversity. And I think, again, you saw that in that game. We go down 14-0 at the beginning of the game because, again, they're a good team, and they were executing well. And our kids, we had a little bit of a moment of kind of feeling sorry for ourselves, but again, that senior leadership kind of snapped itself back. To me, the turning point of that game was right before halftime when offensively we couldn't get anything going. And defensively, they were just moving the ball up and down the field on us. Again, we gave the ball to Elias, and he took the ball for like 20-something yards. We weren't going to score right before half. I mean, we got the ball on our 30, and so we would need and we had 30 seconds left. So we would have needed 4 or 5 really explosive plays. Which, time-wise, you really don't have that time. But, in a situation like that as a coach, you're kind of looking at how are we responding to this? Are they just looking at the clock and waiting to go to halftime? Or, are they going to try to do something and make yardage? And, we gave the ball to Elias on a play that we ran 2 or 3 times before that. And Elias took the ball for 25 yards. And we ended up running out of time. But, that was where I looked at it and said, okay, we have something here, because that's a completely in the course of the game, that's a useless play. It doesn't do anything but add to a stat line, which I mean, nobody around here cares about too much. So, you as a coach, you're going up at halftime. You're like, what should I say to him? Do I be critical of him, or do I push him, or do I give him a there? Everything's going to be okay. You kind of got to figure out how to handle that, but. That was the play that kind of gave me confidence in, okay, we can get on these guys a little bit and push them because it's right there. And then they played great in the second half. To hold a kid like Cam LaChapelle to under 150 yards, which, I mean, again, go back over the course of that kid's career and see how many times that's been done. I mean, that was a huge game. And again, bad things kept happening. You know, we had turnovers. The last like minute of the game was like a turnover fest between us and them, which isn't, you know, which as a coach isn't something that overly proud of. But what you are proud of is that our kids kept fighting. And then in the second, you know, that overtime, you know, where, you know, we get the ball first, which is the disadvantage, but we lost the coin toss. So, you know, nothing you can do about that. And then they stop us. And so all they have to do is score and they win. And for our defense, and again, you know, we move the ball up to, I think, the 3-yard line, and then we take a 12-yard loss.
Right.
And it would have been so easy for our kids to just throw their hands up and say, what this is, here we go again, or whatever. And they fought to the end of that game. And then they, you know, again, to give a team like Uxbridge the ball on the 10-yard line twice in overtime, because after, you know, we stopped them, they get the ball back again because it goes every other. And they stopped them twice, you know, and they fought hard. And they, you know, again, Isaiah Monette had a tough first half of that game. And then he makes the crucial, you know, he hits the kid that jars the ball out at the end. I mean, that's, you know, and then you give the ball to Elias at the end, the O-line. You know, Logan Schaaf did a great job. I mean, before he messed up a little bit, and we all got on him on the sidelines. And then again, instead of pouting, he responds by doing a great job, making his block, and we score. And, you know, I think that again, you're seeing the kids go forward and not giving up and not falling into kind of, you know, pity parties, and they're doing a good job. So we just got to keep that moving forward and keep understanding that it's hard to win football games. And, you know, if we just keep pounding away, eventually the other teams will break and we'll have good things happen.
Well, you're teaching resiliency and grit. And I'll tell you what, those are two intangibles that great programs and great organizations kind of wrap themselves around, because good things don't always go your way. You need to fight. You need to continuously to propel yourself and move forward. So great job. Speaking about that, momentum going into this week's game, another tough opponent, Nipmuc High School. You know, it's, you know, they're going to be out to try to prove a point. And I get that, and I respect that. And I know, and I believe our guys will be up for the challenge. Let's talk a little bit about that preparation.
Yeah, I mean, they're right next to us in the rankings. I think they finished right above us in the rankings, you know, the final rankings for Division 6. They're a good program. They're incredibly well coached. That coach over there does a great job. I have a lot of respect for what he does over there and how he gets those kids to play. And yeah, I think, you know, one of the narratives that I really don't like around this time of the year is, you know, you hear a lot of coaches talk about like meaningful football in November and meaningful football. And, you know, we talked to our kids this week. You know, we have the Vogue playoffs coming up next week, but if anytime you put on your school's jersey, it's meaningful football. And I think, you know, what I would tell a lot of coaches is that, you know, if that's, you know, one of the issues that the state has with, you know, consolation games is if you got a bunch of us adults talking about, you know, it's not meaningful. Anytime you put on a football jersey, it's meaningful football. So, you know, we're and I'm sure Nipmuc feels the exact same way. I mean, they're a team. I think they're going to want to beat us. It's at their home on a Saturday afternoon. I mean, they're going to want to beat us, and we want to beat them. And like I said, that coaching staff's not going to let those kids, you know, down. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough game again. But, you know, again, coming off of these two games, I think. You know, we're in a better place mentally than we've been in, you know, before that. And yeah, we got to keep going. We got to keep going because after this week we have the Vogue playoffs, which again means a lot to us around here. And you know, you can't take steps backwards because, you know, if you're not moving forward every week, you know, you're going to get run by. So yeah, we got our hands full this week, and we're excited about the opportunity to compete. So.
Well, I look forward to being there on Saturday. At the end of the day, I love that you said, let's not look forward. Let's take care of business in front of us right now. We've got a big game on Saturday against Nipmuc at their house. So what time is that game?
It's at noon.
At noon. Okay, noon on Saturday. What better way to spend an afternoon than watching a little football and supporting our guys? So, Coach, wish you the best of luck with that. Obviously, continue to do what you're doing. You're teaching our kids about life. You're teaching our kids about hard work and how it pays off in the end. And that's really good stuff. And, the wins and losses take care of themselves. But right now, learning to win, learning to prepare, learning to do all those little things, it just makes a huge difference for everything about what we do around here. So thank you.
Just really quick, just a shout out to the freshman group. Huge win last night against Clinton,
Awesome.
team that beat them earlier in the season. And
Yep.
I got to watch that game last night. They got to play under the lights at home, which is awesome. And that's a really exciting group if we can keep them together and keep them here. That's going to be an exciting group to watch develop and come up. And they're a physical group, and what I was proud about them watching them is they play together really well. They're rooting for each other, they're pulling for each other. There's no, they have some talent for sure, but I didn't see any. Cole Adams, I watched him run a screen pass to score, and his first instinct is to turn around and find his teammates and stuff like that, man. That's special. Yeah. So if we can, again, and this is a group that 3 months ago, none of them knew each other. I mean, a few of them played together, but most part, none of them knew each other. So to watch them kind of come together and play our style of football, I was impressed with them. So it's an exciting group, and hopefully they keep developing.
No, the future's bright there. And again, it has a lot to do with the system and the organization of the system that you have in place. So continue to do that. I know you will. Your coaches work hard, kids work hard, and we're super proud of all you guys. So continue to work. You get a chance on Saturday, come on out and support our football team. Nipmuc High School at 12 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Should be a great ball game. And Coach, wish you the best of luck. Any ending remarks?
No, just look forward to seeing everybody there.
There it is right there. Everybody have a great day. Happy Friday to everybody. Most importantly, if you get a chance to come out and support us, let's